Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show how I made these beautiful bottle tags. And this is part of my Santa's Helper series, part 4. I've also made a calendar, a bookmark, and my mind is drawing a blank. Anyhow, I've made a lot of different gift ideas that are really cool for the holidays. So I will show you how I made this, but first I did want to mention right now a flash sale is going on for Paper Pumpkin, and if you want to subscribe, please use me as your demonstrator. So the instructions for these tags I have written out, and I will set this here while I get set up to start on the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree is a little bit of the tricky one. Not that it's that difficult, but there are a few things that I had to tweak with. First of all, I did cut out the outline, the framelit, for it to layer it, use it as a layering. And I will go ahead and do a little bit of sponging. Boy, that's crazy. I can't find my correct sponge, but I do see my other one, which is here. This is the garden green one, but I'm going to use a part that I didn't use for the garden green. Anyhow, I just sponged a little on the edge. Oh, I know why. I think I used a dauber. Oh well, today is not quite going my way. I did make this video, and almost when I was 3/4 through making it, my camera just shut down for no apparent reason. I'm not out of battery. I don't know. So anyway, little things do happen. Now, the first time I did this, I also used the sponge dauber and lifted each one of these, and I added color to them. But it was a little time consuming and kind of a little frustrating. So what I did after that was using my blends, dark blends with the soft seafoam. Boy, I can't think today. Anyhow, so I'll go ahead and lift these up and show you the next step, which was using, I'll put this aside because that's a little distracting. I used the multi-medium glue to hold these up, but first I do go ahead and use some Tombow on the edges to secure it to the matting. Now this part definitely, you want to use enough glue, but you definitely don't want to get in here because obviously we want those to be raised up. So it looks very dimensional. This is somewhat of a 3D look, and I think it's super cool. I love that Stampin' Out! Came out with this. I've seen it in other lines, but I'm just thrilled that they came out with the Christmas tree with the 3D effect. Okay, so setting that aside, I will go ahead and bring in a little bit of scrap because I think I got a few spots here that I was a little too generous on the glue. And so we don't want it to kind of make a mess once we get it. So, okay, I will go ahead and flip this on, and then we will after I do this part, we'll let it dry while we work on the rest of the tag. Because having this dry is really important before you add it to your project. So I would suggest starting with this part first if you're going to do it. And look how beautiful that is. Now the problem here is it's just going to collapse and go right back down in each of these branches, if you will. So I put it in a little bottle. This has a very big end here, and it would just not be very easy to get it under there. So one of these little bottles you can pick up pretty cheap and just add it. Just lift these up, and if you're having, if it gets stuck kind of, use your pokey tool to, and it's definitely a little bit of a fussy job. So pump enough of this this multi-medium glue in, and it will hold it up after it dries. It does take about 15-20 minutes to fully dry. It's not a fast drying glue, which sometimes is a good thing. And you just want to fill them up pretty well. I won't do all of the filling but I just wanted to show you, well, maybe I should, just how it's really not that time consuming. So you can get this done pretty quickly if you have your little squeeze bottle all ready to go. Oh, I'm coming to the end here. It's not actually the end of the glue, but you know how that part of the squeezing is over. Oh, come on. Yeah, there you go. Give me just a little bit more. All right. So I went ahead and did that all. And at this point, I would just set it aside and move on to the next part of the job, just so it gives it a chance to dry. I will put it on my silicone mat, which I would suggest doing either a non-stick like this is, or your silicone mat to, so you don't get your work surface all with glue. Okay, so my base is right here, and this is the Tranquil Tide base, and I've already gone ahead and scored it. So I am a big fan of templates, so I will show you how I did this part. For making the little hole at the top for the bottle neck, I created a template, and I just add a little bit of a pencil mark there, just so when I bring in my 1 3/4 inch punch, I know pretty much exactly where. Now I'm also paying attention where the punch is over here and here, so I get it all lined up, and it should come out perfectly if I measured right and I'm careful. So I think that's pretty good. You can see, and maybe use this for a different project at a later time. Okay, so that part I will go ahead now and add the DSP, which is part of the Joyous Noel DSP specialty paper, and it's just beautiful. Both sides are gorgeous. This foiling is just stunning, but I do like sometimes the other side better in a way. And for this particular project anyhow, I did decide that I wanted a lot of white and just a more of a, I don't know, flowery look, if you will. So just with using the wet glue, it gives you a second to adjust a little bit, and I am pretty satisfied with that, so I'll go ahead and push it down, and it dries very, very quickly. I'll go ahead and add the sentiment at the bottom. This particular order isn't extremely important, but you do want to make sure everything is straight as possible. I just have this all, like right at the bottom lined up. So there for that part. Okay, so I wanted to bring back my little tree, and I wanted to show you how I colored it with using the blends. Now, ideally I would wait even longer than this to do this, but I'll be careful and not be too rough on it. So just like the tips, just add a little color. I've already sponged this part, and actually the dauber works a little better for smaller areas, but the sponging works too. Anyhow, so this works a little bit easier than using the dauber or sponger, as I was saying. I found it's a little less time consuming. And it's the color matches. Now with the blue one, I would have to use the Aqua Pinter, which wouldn't be too big of a deal either, since I don't think there's a blend in the Balmy blue. I'm pretty sure there isn't, but for some reason I keep hoping there is. Maybe it will come out. Maybe I've got some kind of intuition that they will eventually have a Balmy blue blends markers or so. Anyhow, so that's pretty quick. Again, this needs to dry a little further, so I do have one that's already prepared. Oh, I almost forgot. I like to corner around this, and this is the Detailed Trio. Oh, I put it in the wrong one. Okay, so it's very simple to use, and it corner rounds it, and I think it just adds a nice finished look for this particular project. So I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I like it. All right, so the next part I will bring in what I already prepared, which is this tree. I also wanted to mention I did try using mini dimensionals, And what I was having issues with this popping back up, and it just, in general, it was just too puffy, and it couldn't get like pushed down in between the fronds of the branches, or whatever you want to call them. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and, well, actually I'm going to add the sentiment up here, which is joy, so it makes sense, joy to the world. It's really a pretty one. I did go ahead and use the adhesive sheets on the back of this particular Sprig punch, and I think it just makes life a little easier. I don't have any adhesive on this gold foil, but I'll just quickly add a little. All right, so top left-hand corner, and we're allowing enough room for our beautiful Christmas tree, which will be coming up in a second. Okay, so there it is. And right here, I'm just going to add a little glue, and then we're done with this particular tag, and I'm going to show you the New Year's Eve tag that I came up with, which I think is gorgeous too, and super easy and fun and quick. So this one is pretty quick too if you do some of the prep, like die cutting, and let's see, I don't know, coloring, and doing the embossing. Yeah, it's really fast if you do all that beforehand. Okay, so it's beautiful, elegant, and perfect for the holidays, this bottle topper. And I hope you try this one. Okay, I will bring in the other one we're going to be working on next, which is this New Year's. So for this, I stamped using the Mistletoe season stamp set, and I will bring in the ink pads that I will need and my stamps. So we can do this really quickly. And I will also be using Pool Party for the little, like, I don't know, stars or whatever they are. But first I'll go ahead and do the mistletoe. So I just bring the ink pad to the stamp because it's just a big stamp and it's just easier that way. I want to make sure I have good coverage, look at it carefully, and if you see an area that doesn't have good coverage, you can quickly fix it and it's no big deal. Okay, so just stamp down. I like to hold it a few seconds, especially with the photopolymer. I think it just gets a better, crisper image. All right, we're gonna bring in the cherry cobbler now and do the little sprig. Now, because this is fussy cutted out, you really have plenty of waste here to add the sprig and cut it out as well. So I would definitely do that for your project if you do this particular one. Now, because this is time consuming to fussy cut, I did already have this all prepared, but right now we're gonna work on the beautiful sentiment over here, and it says, "Cheers to the new year." And what I'd like to do is adding a little bit more to it. I just think that having the blue stars and stuff just adds a little bit more festive look. I'm bringing in some paper because some of it might go off just a teeny bit. So here, this is all part of this word set, which I'm trying to look at here, is Warm-Hearted. It's a hostess set, part of the catalog for the Christmas catalog, or the holiday, whatever you want to call it. So I just added a few. You don't have to be real careful with this part. And then I added a few random ones with the little ones, because this is just like very New Year's Eve-y supposed to be. And let's celebrate a New Year's here. I think this would be perfect, like with a bottle of champagne as a gift, perhaps, if you're going to a New Year's Eve party, or I don't know. Okay, so I will set that paper aside. And I did not use any dimensionals on this one. I think by having it layered, it was enough to give it a little raised look. Oh, I forgot one part. Okay, so I caught this sort of on time. I used a little garden green around the edge, and I really thought it added to it. So I will go ahead and do this and carefully avoid the parts that I already glued. But I just went ahead and sponged a little And this is such a quick, fun thing, I think, to add a little extra color. I'm going to be careful where I'm holding this and go ahead and quickly sponge a little bit of green. It does show up. It's kind of subtle, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so add a little more here. Glue. I'm kind of a little backwards today, but hopefully you'll get the idea of how these tags are just really fun and easy to do. So I will go ahead and pull this, put this down, try to center it, and if I get it a little off, I can take a look right now and adjust just a teeny bit. And I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I will go ahead and bring the base in. I did do most of this because you already saw how I did it with the other, with creating the circle and using the trio punch to round off the edges. All right, here we go. I will position everything. Here is the mistletoe that I already cut out, and I wanted to show one important step to add the baker's twine. A little trick. I don't know if I've seen this or I came up with it, but just add a little bit of the your snail here, then get your twine and start wrapping it. So I want to wrap it somewhere just, you know, not too high up, because obviously right there is, okay. And you just wrap. And I like to wrap it about 4 times. So you get a nice look, a solid look there. And this kind of is giving me a little bit of heartache, but I will deal with that. I think I'll deal with it. Okay, so I'll just add a little bit more snail just so it hides it. I don't want like little loose fringes. Although this is beautiful, you can unwrap this, and that's a cool effect too, but that wasn't quite the look I was looking for. Okay, so next I add a little bit of my tear tape to the top just to make sure nothing's gonna come loose here. And that will secure it for sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, add this. I'm taking off the dimensionals, and we're almost done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and will give me a thumbs up and perhaps subscribe. If you do subscribe, don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. I will be doing more in the Santa's Helper series, and so keep watching and stay tuned. All right, so I like this at an angle, and I just put it right here. Just put it right down. The position isn't extremely important, just you want it a little bit angled, I think, to create kind of a pleasing effect. And oh, the one other thing I usually like to add after the fact, so this part wasn't a mistake, but I almost forgot to add it, is this little sprig. I just like pushing it up in. I don't know if you can see that. I just push it up under the twine just a teeny bit, adjust, then push down. It really doesn't need a lot of adhesive to hold. So the snail works just fine for that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, add this, and then we're gonna add a little bit of bling, because nothing like the holidays and bling, right? All right, so I didn't put it all the way at the bottom, but kind of low down. There we go. And next we'll go ahead and bring in our bling. All right, so these are the red rhinestones, the basic jewels, and they're just perfect, I think, for this particular project. I think they're just gorgeous. It is a real red, but I don't think you really notice too much the color differentiation. So I like adding about 3. I know a lot of people would do that. It's a little bit cliche, I suppose, but it works, so you can't argue with what works. All right, so there is our tag, and I also wanted to show one other tag that I came up with. And if you're interested, if I make another tutorial, let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see how I made this one. This one is a hostess gift, and I thought it would make a really, wonderful gift for someone, maybe for Thanksgiving, bring it, I don't know. So that one, I have that one, and then I'll go ahead and bring back in my original one here and the new one here, since these are slightly different with the color. This is with the green, and this one was with the Balmy blue. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. And if you would like to order any of the products, please email me at mewants3@gmail.com. Happy stamping!